Hi CEC families, this is Michelle Monroe. I'm the director of the Child Enrichment Center, and I thank you for joining us for our virtual parent orientation. You'll be able to view this video at any time. I encourage you to watch it before school starts. That way you'll have an idea of some of our policies and procedures. That's what I'm going to go over with you today. Our parent handbook is a great resource for you as well. It can be found on our website. Our website, if you've not been there, is kingslandcec.org. This video will be there, and then there's a lot of parent resources, including that parent handbook that you'll want to be familiar with for the school year. So as we start out, I will say this year is just not our typical school year. Things look a little different. So some of our policies and procedures have been changed. That's often the time for those changes is because of our licensing agency. They have given us a lot of guidelines on how to open up our school during a pandemic, and so we've adapted a lot of our things to make sure that we're doing everything we can this school year to keep your children and our teachers and staff safe while they are at CEC. So as we start out, I want to let you know we are licensed by the state of Texas. We follow their minimum standards for child care facilities. So the majority of our policies and procedures are based strictly on their recommendations and requirements for our center. So if you ever have a question about why we do something, oftentimes I'll refer you back to that licensing agreement with Health and Human Services. Formerly, it was the Department of Family and Protective Services. That's changed in the last year or so, but the minimum standards have stayed the same. So let's jump into this. As I'm going through, if you have questions over anything in particular, jot yourself a note down. That way, when we meet for our live Zoom Q&A, you'll remember some of the questions that maybe you have, since we're not able to watch this live together. Routines are something that are so vitally important for our preschoolers. We have many routines that we follow at the school. This helps them to know what's coming next, what we do at different times during the day. And as a parent, something that you can help us with is setting a routine for your preschooler. This may be things that you do the day before they come to preschool. So maybe the evening before you come to school, you're talking about the upcoming day. You let your child help you pick out what they want for lunch. Just give them some suggestions, things that you would be okay with going in their lunch. But just put that out, let them help you make those decisions. Maybe letting them pick out their clothes. This was something that really helped my own children be prepared for the next day. They were able to go ahead and mentally prepare before they went to bed, because they were picking out their clothes knowing that they were going to go to school and see their friends the next day. Having everything ready to go. Oftentimes, the mornings at home with preschoolers don't go as planned. There are accidents and incidents and things that happen that we just don't plan for. So having things prepared and planned in advance will help you to let that morning go as smoothly as possible. So making sure you've gone through their backpack, you have any special things that they need for the day ready to go, collecting those things together, having their lunch packed, just so when you're ready to walk out the door, all you have to do is grab it and go. Sleeping. Our children need lots of sleep when they're preschoolers. Their bodies are growing, so keeping them up late the night before often makes getting up in the morning a little more difficult, right? So they're a little crankier if they've not had a good night's sleep the night before preschool. So making sure that they've napped, if they're still nap takers, making sure that they've gone to bed on time, just so that they are having their best morning possible when they get ready for school. And something else that is important is to eat a good breakfast. Our children all have snacks in the morning at CEC, but those snacks happen at different times. So if you just make sure their bellies are full and that they're not coming to school hungry, then they're prepared to start their day as soon as they get to school. We can't feed them breakfast in the classroom because we've got a lot of things to do. They've got a full, fun day ready for them as soon as they walk through the doors. Arriving on time helps your students. I know, like I said before, we completely understand that sometimes your mornings just don't go as planned. And so we understand that sometimes you're going to be running late, and we understand and forgive you for that. We do the same ourselves. But if you will try and arrive on time for carpool, that will help your child be acclimated when their friends begin to arrive. Oftentimes, if your child's the last one coming into a classroom, it's harder to integrate into the activities that are going on. So just do your best to try and arrive on time. We're going to talk a lot about carpool next. So carpool is going to happen for your children from 8:55 to 9:10 every morning. And I know with all of us coming through carpool this year, we may see that time last a little bit longer, but we're going to try and get those kids there as early as possible. So we will be there to greet them. We're going to talk about our procedures for carpool, so you'll know what to expect when you arrive. Just this slide shows you where our locations will be. So we're starting carpool for our youngest students. So our 15 months, 2-year-olds, and 3-year-olds will all be dropped off at entrance 5. And in a minute, I will show you a map of the school so I can point that location out to you. Then our 4-year-olds and transition students, this is a change for you this year. You will arrive for carpool at entrance 4. That is on the south side of the church. The new playground that was installed in that courtyard area, you're going to be coming through that area right there for your teachers to get your child out of the car. So now let's talk a little bit about what carpool will look like for our students. When you come to find your room day, every child will get a carpool tag. It's going to be color-coded to match their classroom. We've assigned each one of our classrooms a class color, and it's going to have their name and their number on there. So that number correlates to their age group. So a child that was in the 15-month-old class, their carpool tag is going to have the number 1 on it. A 2-year-old will have a 2, and so forth. This particular sign happens to be pink because I want to touch on that for just a minute. Some children in the class will have a pink tag, and that is for those children that have siblings in the program. We did this for you parents so that you only have to have one carpool tag. You'll hang that tag in your mirror when you arrive for carpool and when you come for pickup. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here the carpool tag is hanging in my vehicle. So you're going to hang that up as you approach the carpool line. When we arrive, it's going to let your teachers know what child is in that car. A CEC office staff member will come and screen your child. We'll ask you some health screening questions and then take their temperature. As soon as we're finished, your child's classroom teacher will come to the car and get them out of your car along with all of their things. Don't forget, we've asked you to put all of their things into that extra large Ziploc bag. So when the teachers have the student, all they have to do is grab one bag and be ready to move on so we can keep our carpool line moving this year. So making sure that your carpool hanger is displayed in your window will help us to have the appropriate teacher in place to receive your child. You're going to use this for departure also. That way the teacher will know to bring the child to you. So at Find Your Room Day, you will be asked if you need a duplicate tag. You can let us know and we will be happy to provide one for you. So when you pull up to carpool, we're going to ask that you stay in your car. Let us take the child out and put them in for you. If you can, if you have 2 children, this won't be possible. But if you have just one child that you're dropping off to us, having them on the passenger side of the car just helps us from walking in between the vehicles for carpool, and it just helps to speed up the process because they're right there ready to exit and walk into the school. Once your child is taken out of the car by their teacher, they will clean their hands and then go directly to class to meet their other classroom teacher. Now let's take a look at the carpool map here. So you can see our CEC office is located right here. This is entrance 5. It is the covered carpool area. This is where we've done carpool in the past for all students. This year, it will be specifically dedicated to our 15-month, 2-year-old, and 3-year-old students. If you have a 4 or 5-year-old in the transition program, they will come around here to the south side of the church at entrance 4. So these are our 2 carpool locations, entrance 5 for 15 months 2s and 3s, and entrance 4 for our 4s and 5s. Now, what if you have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old? You're going to need to go to both carpool areas. I would suggest, for ease of things, to start with carpool at entrance 5, drop off your younger student, and then you'll just proceed down the side of the building. Someone will be kind enough to let you into the carpool line, and then you'll join the 4-year-old carpool line here, where your 4-year-old's teacher will be meeting them to get them out. We are probably going to have some backup of traffic. That's acceptable. We're going to work through that. If we see that the lines are too long, we will come up with an alternate plan. But for right now, you're going to enter the parking lot for carpool for the 15 months 2s and 3s from the entrance off of Kingsland Boulevard. This is the entrance here that is directly across from Nottingham Elementary. If you are only dropping off a 4 or 5-year-old and you don't want to get caught up in this carpool traffic, you'll pass that entrance and then come to the stoplight here at Rennie. And if you'll take Rennie down and enter the Kingsland parking lot from this entrance nearest Rennie Park, it will come and take you straight to the carpool line. So those are not hard rules that you have to follow. It's just going to help ease your wait time and your transitions. If you enter here to get to the 4s, then you're going to have to come around all of those cars that are waiting to drop off the younger children. So you can avoid that by coming to Rennie and then into the back parking lot here off of Rennie Boulevard. So when your children arrive, again, your child's teacher will take them out and take them directly to their classroom. You must have a carpool tag displayed. And if there's anybody that's picking up your child that we as an office or classroom staff do not recognize, we will ask them to provide us identification. So make sure if somebody's picking up new that day, you've communicated with your child's teacher and they need to be on your dismissal form. We will require any IDs to be shown until we are familiar with the members of your family or friends that are picking up your students. All right. I'm sure we're going to have some questions about carpool when we meet for our parent Q&A. Let me say that I know some of you moms are very anxious about using carpool for your younger students. And let me just assure you that we are prepared to handle the tears that we're going to have, the separation anxiety that your little ones might face. We're going to do everything we can to make them feel comfortable at drop-off, and we're going to be patient and loving. I hope that you will do the same. Give us a few weeks to work through the details, see how students are going. Those children that are going to have separation anxiety are going to have separation anxiety from you, whether it occurs at the car or at the classroom door. So you can help your children by being positive and excited and upbeat about what they're going to do. Remind them of the procedures. Tell them on the way to school, remember when we get to school, Miss So-and-so is going to come to the car. She's going to get all your things and take you to class so you can see your friends. As parents and staff, we know that this isn't our normal procedure, but for these children, they're going to get used to whatever routines we start on. That's why we ask that you try it for at least the first 2 to 3 weeks and see how your child is doing with it. If after that time your toddler is having a very difficult time, we would love to sit down with you and talk about some alternatives for drop-offs. But we anticipate that almost every child is going to have a little bit of difficulty with drop-off in the beginning, and that is normal on any normal school year. And so we anticipate that as well for this carpool procedure. So just be patient with us and know that we're going to have the utmost patience with your child. You can also, if your child left the car and they were crying and upset, you can call us at the CEC office anytime during the day, and we will go and look in on your child and let you know how they're doing. We'll give you an honest report. Most of our students, after the first week of school, within the first 10 or 15 minutes, they quit crying. Once they're in the classroom and they've started the fun activities their teachers have for them, they are acclimated and doing fine, and we will let you know. Your teacher will give you some tips on things if they're having a very difficult time, and the office staff is also there to help you. So please just be patient with us, but also keep those lines of communication open if you're very anxious or you see that your child is very anxious with the drop-off procedures. So we're going to work through this together, and we're going to make the best of it, and it's going to be a great year. So that is kind of what we anticipate the mornings to look like. So we will talk a little bit more. Let me go over these safety issues first before we talk about the departure. So because carpool ends at a certain time, we're not going to end if there's cars in the line, but if we end and no one is there to receive your child, you'll need to park and walk your child into the CEC office. Please do not park underneath one of the carpool areas or in the fire lane, which is that area at entrance 4 in the backside of the church is a fire lane. So please don't pull up there to the curb and park your car and walk in. This just creates problems when other people are walking, having to walk in between cars with younger children. And also it is a fire hazard if the fire trucks were coming into the school. So please park in a parking spot and walk your child to the CEC office. When you arrive at the office, we'll do their health screening, and then we will take them to their classroom and drop them off for you. I know you think that no one would ever do this, but it happens every year. We have students that are dropped off and left to run into the building and find their classroom. And I know you're thinking that, you would never do that. But after your child is familiar with the routines and the church seems enormous to some of our parents that aren't familiar with the layout, but those children are very comfortable with the school. So they know right how to get to their classrooms. This year specifically, we will be locking the hallway doors as soon as carpool's over. So if your child tries to access their hallway, they will meet a locked door. So if they don't know how to find the office, then they're not going to be able to find an adult that can get them safely to school. So please, anytime you arrive, when we are not there to receive your child at carpool, please walk them into the office where we can meet you. Besides the locked doors, the teachers are often going to different scheduled events in the morning. So there's many things that take our teachers out of the classroom as soon as the day has started. Okay, so for pickup time, we're going to go to the same locations that we dropped the children off. You're going to hang your carpool tag up, and then your teacher will come and bring your child to the car. Again, stay in the car. Let us put them into the seat. We are not going to buckle them. We're going to ask that you pull over into the parking lot and buckle them into their seats. This does two things. It speeds up the carpool process for us and gives you a chance to say hello and check in with them, maybe give them some kisses because you've missed them all day, and then make sure that that car seat or seat belt is buckled properly. Car seats are so different than they used to be. They all have different buckles and snaps, and it would just be best if you were the one to make sure your child is installed safely. So after your teachers put them in the car, just pull over into the parking lot, get those seat belts buckled, give them their kisses, tell them you've missed them, and then you'll be ready to go. For our pickup times, we do have some students in the 3s, 4s, and transition that might be leaving at noon. So they may leave at 12 o'clock because they aren't staying for lunch bunch. Those students, your teachers will meet you in the carpool location where you dropped them off in the mornings. Our afternoon dismissal, we're going to start carpool at 2:10. We've got a lot of kids to get out the door and into cars this year. So we're going to start, our goal is to have carpool from 2:10 to 2:30. We ask that you're on time. Our parents have younger children. Please consider being there early. Drop or pickup time can be hard for them. They're waking up from a nap and they're seeing their friends leave. And so sometimes they get really sad if they're waiting. Trust me, their teachers will be entertaining them. They'll have books, they'll have songs and activities that they'll be doing with them. It just makes things a little bit easier if you're one of the first ones there to pick up. So we will get that carpool line started as soon as we see cars piling up out there. Be patient with us. Again, those first couple of weeks are going to be a lot of learning processes. There might be some things that we need to change or tweak after we see how the first couple of weeks go. If there's something that you see that you would like to give us some input on, please feel free. You see things from a parent standpoint and we see them from an administrator's standpoint. So we're happy to have your feedback on how that process is going. If you arrive after we've finished carpool, your child will be waiting for you in the CEC office. So you'll be able to come in and pick them up there. All right, moving on. I think we've covered a lot of information about carpool, but like I said, you might have some questions on that, and I'm happy to answer those when we meet together. Or if it's something of a personal nature, feel free to send me an email. Most of you have received emails from me, but if you haven't, my email address is mmonroe@kingsland.org. Okay, shoes. shoes are important for our kiddos. They are very busy. They're active in the classrooms. They've got movement class. They go to the playground. And so we ask that you put them in shoes that are closed-toed and are securely fastened on their foot. This will just help them to be as active and have as few incidents as possible. Several of our playgrounds have got mulch on them as well. So especially those little kids, they've got that bark mulch on their playground. If they are wearing the little girls are wearing sandals or something like that, and the mulch gets into those shoes, it's just very uncomfortable for them. So the best thing to send your child in to school is a tennis shoe. There are other options for shoes that fit firmly on their foot. There's a couple of examples here. So just help us by doing that. Our students have movement class once a week. So think of like PE type activities. So of course, doing that type of physical activity, the teachers prefer to have them in a tennis shoe. All right, we have a lot of things that you send to school with your students every day. So their personal belongings, they're going to have a rest mat, a backpack, a lunch box. So we ask that you make sure that you label everything that comes to school. And you're going to hear me say that again as I go through these slides and we look at the next couple of things, but label everything. Oftentimes the cute little backpack or the cute little lunchbox that your child has, another child might have as well. Oftentimes when we get to lunch boxes, there's a lot of different things inside. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But we provide a laminated backpack tag for every student. So everyone gets one. If you'll put that on their backpack, it's going to be color-coded like your child's carpool tag would be. So put that on their backpack. That will help us. If another teacher's helping at carpool, it helps give the child's name and age group and class color so they can help us get those children to their classroom. Also, that nap mat, you'd be surprised at how many kids have the same nap mat, so make sure their name is on it somewhere. We do ask that you provide a full set of clothing for all students. This even goes for my transition students, the ones that are 5 years old. They may not have a potty accident, but maybe they were having a really cool activity in class and they spilled something on their clothes. It might make them uncomfortable. So if you can help by having their own set of clothing in their backpack that they can change into, then they're just oftentimes more comfortable with that. It's something familiar for them. We have got tons of extra clothes on hand. So never fear if you forget, but we do ask if you'll go ahead and prepare that. Put it in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. Make sure each one of those clothing items, their underwear, their socks, their shirt, everything that you put in there needs to have a label on it. That way we know who it belongs to if for some reason it got pulled out of the backpack. So label that extra set of clothes, and don't forget, we will eventually see some cooler weather here in Katy. So if you start out with a short outfit for their extra set of clothing, when it does cool off a bit, you may want to change that and put in some long pants or warmer clothes for them. All right, speaking of that cooler weather that we're hoping for, once jackets start coming to school, oftentimes those get left behind. Every year we end up with jackets that nobody claims. And I know someone came to school in them, but nobody picks them up or comes to the office to see if we found it. And if there's no name on it, there's no way for us to identify it. So please make sure that when that cooler weather comes, you've got a label in their jackets or their sweaters, so that when they're running and playing on the playground and they get hot and take it off and leave it on the bench, maybe the next class finds it, we're able to get that back to the child that it belongs to. All right, in those lunch boxes, so you can label your child's lunch box and everything inside of it. oftentimes you guys will send something like the bento boxes that has the different compartments. They oftentimes have lids and things like that that go along with them. So when that lid comes off, it gets laid on the table and brushed down to the side. If the name isn't on there, the teacher may not be able to get that back to you. And without the lid, now your bottom container is no longer good. So make sure you've labeled the top and bottom parts of any container that go in your child's lunchbox, as well as any utensils. If you send a fork or a spoon or something like that, make sure that those are all labeled so that we make sure that we get them back to you. Oftentimes I'll be in a classroom helping for lunch, and as I unpack a lunchbox or help to put things back up, I might be missing an item and I can't find it and I don't know whose it is, or maybe I have an extra item and I can't get it back to the correct student because I'm not sure where it came from and it's not labeled. So you want to keep everything intact and we want to get it back to you. So make sure everything's got a label on it. Okay, we communicate in a variety of ways at CEC. Your child's backpack is going to be the #1 form of communication. They're going to have a folder in there, and your child's teacher will send home class projects that they've completed, artwork. The office will send communication about upcoming events or schedules or something that you might need to be aware of. So if you'll get into the habit of checking that backpack every day and seeing maybe what's coming up, you will be missing out on a lot if you're not looking into that folder every time your child comes home. We will put signs up at carpool if there's a big event or something coming up. So maybe it is an early dismissal day. We don't have very many of those this year, but for the ones we do, we'll put a sign out at carpool in the morning just to remind you that it is that it's early dismissal day. So those signs will be placed in the carpool lines. We also put all of our information on our website. You're going to want to check that for your child's class calendar. You can go ahead and plan ahead for when they've got an assigned snack day or what special events. Maybe they've got a color of the week and they're going to do show and tell or need to bring a picture for their classroom. So you can see on their calendar what they're studying that week at school. So check all of those things regularly for us so we can stay in contact. I know a lot of our teachers this year will be using some social media apps like Seesaw or some other app, and those are just so they can give you a little bit of insight to what your child's doing during the day. I know that it's difficult with you not being in the hallways to see the classrooms, and so we really want to bring you into the class by giving you some pictures and communication about what your child's day looks like. So if your teacher gives you one of those Seesaw forms and you need to log in and get signed up, do that right away so you don't miss out on that communication from them. Some of those will be personal, directed just to you and your student, and some will just be class messages that are sent out. But don't forget to sign up for that if your teacher offers that opportunity for you. Oh, here's our website. Just in case you aren't familiar with it, you're going to want to plug that in so you know how to find us. It's kingslandcec.org. Okay. CEC has one of our licensing requirements is for us to have an emergency preparedness plan. This just helps us plan through any type of an emergency event that might happen while your child is in care. Some of those things that we do, we practice regularly. So every month, we will have a scheduled fire drill. So we will practice our exit routines and we'll record that. We also will do disaster drills and recently we've started doing a lockdown drill. That's a requirement that we had done for probably the last 5 years. So the disaster drills, think of like a tornado drill. Back when we were in school, the kids get in a turtle position. They're in an interior room or hallway. And they practice that for 2 minutes, and we just brag on them for being the cutest little turtles ever. We make it fun so that these drills that they practice aren't alarming to them, but sometimes it will strike a memory with them because we will ring a bell or blow a whistle. Sometimes those noises will help to alert the child that we are about to start a drill. Our lockdown drills are done 4 times a year as well. The disaster drill and lockdown drill happen 4 times a year. Lockdown drills, in essence, we're practicing hiding in the event that we had an intruder in the building. And so our children, we make it fun. We call it a little game of hide and seek. So their teachers take them and they hide. And then Miss Michelle or another office staff member comes to find them. So it's not anything that is going to alarm your student by the nature of what we're doing. It's just a good way for us to be prepared and to work through that process in case there was an emergency like that in our building. Thankfully, in all the years that I've been at CEC, we've never had to execute one of those live. We've only done the drills, but it just helps us to think through what that process is going to look like. The emergency preparedness plan also covers procedures for if we were to have to evacuate our church, where we would go, how we would get there. We've thought through all of those things so that in the event it happens, we're prepared for it. So that is in our CEC office. We've got a folder where we keep that. If you ever want to see our full plan in action or see a copy of it, you're welcome to stop by and take a look, or you can email me and I'd be happy to email it over to you so you can see that. This is our security map. One of the things that we do daily is to lock areas of our church down. We have got a very large church and there's a lot of entrances. And so 2 of the main things that we do are to keep our hallways secure. So here at number 1, this is our hallway to the 4s and 5s. That door's going to be locked as soon as carpool's finished every day in the morning. And then at entrance 2, this is closer to the CEC office. It's where our 15 months 2 and 3-year-olds are at. We also are going to lock that door once we finish carpool. The doors here at entrance 5, where we have carpool in the mornings for our 15 months 2 and 3-year-olds, we lock that door from 10 to 2. It just helps us to limit the amount of access points into our church. So we will lock those doors and then unlock them when we start carpool each day. If you arrive late and you need to have access to our school, if you're coming after 10 o'clock when this door is locked right here at entrance 5, you're going to come to entrance 4 on the south side of the church and enter the building here. These doors by our playground remain unlocked so that the children are able to enter and exit the playground throughout the day. So you can enter here at entrance 4, and of course the main entrance at Kingsland, entrance number 1, where our receptionist sits, that is unlocked at all times during the day, but there is somebody sitting there to greet visitors. So you can enter at entrance 4 until 10 o'clock, and then after that you'll need to, you can enter at entrance 5 until 10 o'clock, and then anybody after that will need to come to entrance 4 to enter the building. And then you'll just be able to come right down here to the CEC office, and we will be available for you if you need anything. Another hallway door that we have locked is back here on the back side of our L-wing hallway where our youngest children are, there's a security door here that separates us from the Kingsland Child Care area. That way they do not enter our area during times that we have children in session, and we just ask that you give them the same respect and don't walk through those doors if you happen to be in the hallway after drop-off time. Okay, tuition's due every month between the 1st and the 10th. There's a variety of ways that you can get your child's tuition to us. You can make a check out. You'll just make that out to CEC. You can go into your bank website and set up an auto draft payment where the bank will draft us a check each month for the tuition. Most of you are familiar now with myprocare.com. Here you're able to log in, view your child's account, and make a payment on their tuition. This has really simplified our tuition collection process. So a lot of you also prefer that we auto draft. We collect a tuition express form on each child, and if after the 10th between the 1st and the 10th, if you've not had the opportunity to make a payment, we will log in on the next business day. So typically that falls between the 11th and the 15th of the month. We will log in and make a deduction using the information you provided us on your Tuition Express form. So if you've got more questions about that, we can talk about that details. If you're new to the program and you're unsure of how that works, I'm happy to answer questions. But there's several different ways that you can go about making a tuition payment. We do accept cash. Parents are not going to be coming into the school as frequently this year, so that may not be an option for you. So do not send cash through your child's backpack. If you are wanting to pay your tuition in cash, that does need to be brought directly to the CEC office. If you want to send a note or a tuition payment or anything that you want to make sure that is seen by your child's teacher, I recommend attaching it to the outside of their backpack. Just a safety pin and an envelope, and you can put in their tuition check, or maybe they have somebody else on the pickup list picking them up that afternoon. This is a great way to communicate that to a teacher. The teachers may not get a chance to see what's inside of the child's folder immediately when they come into the classroom. Oftentimes they go through those folders later on in the day as things have settled down in the room. So if there's something pertinent that you want the child's teacher to see, attach it to the outside of the backpack. That's the easiest way to go about doing that. Okay, illness has been at the forefront of our minds for these last few months with COVID-19. And being in school, illness is something that we anticipate happening. So most importantly, if your child is sick, keep them home. If you've got any doubts about whether or not they're well enough to attend school, it's probably just best to keep them at home and give them a day to recoup and see how they feel. If your child is out and they have a confirmed illness of any kind, call us and let us know. I've sent out the pandemic procedures, pandemic policies for you. So of course, if your child is diagnosed with COVID, we need to know that so that we can implement the proper quarantine protocols for their class. But with any illness, if you'll let us know why they aren't there, the teachers worry about them when they're not in the classroom for a day or so. So you can call the office, you can email or text your child's teacher and let them know, but just communicate and let us know what's going on with them so we know why they're out. If your child gets sick while they're at school, we're going to call you. We've asked this year that you try and make it a possibility to pick that child up within no more than 30 minutes. And this is just for their comfort level and yours. It's really hard for a sick kiddo to be waiting in the office to be picked up for an hour or more. So I know that there are sometimes extenuating circumstances, but always try and have somebody on call that can pick up your little one in case they get sick at school. Please make sure to update phone numbers. If you have anyone on your list as a pickup, or you or your spouse, make sure we have your most recent phone numbers. And oftentimes it's helpful if we have not only cell phone numbers, but work phone numbers or some other alternative way of getting in touch with you. All right, some of the things that will require your child to stay at home: a fever of 100 degrees or more, if they've had vomiting or diarrhea, infected sinuses, so that heavy drainage and discharge, a cough this year, especially with COVID still being prevalent in our areas. We're going to be very cautious about children with that cough in our care. I know that we're going to be approaching allergy season, and so there may be students that have allergies, and that cough is allergy related. We might just need you to see the doctor, let the doctor provide verification that yes, this child is well and they have a cough due to a seasonal allergy. Try and treat those allergies so that we don't have those lingering coughs for our students. I know that that's almost impossible, but we need to try and keep everybody healthy this year. If we have a child in the classroom that has COVID, we will be requiring quarantine based on the health department's recommendations for us. So anytime your child is having some severe coughing or just not feeling their best, we are going to ask you to keep them home. Right now, our licensing requirement is asking for 72 hours without symptoms before the child returns. If that is updated and changed, we will communicate that. But as of right now, that is their recommendation. So if we send a child home with a fever of 100 degrees, they'll have to remain at home for 3 days. Unless you've taken them to the doctor and the doctor determined that they had a sinus infection or maybe they had strep throat or something like that, then with a note and 24 hours being free of symptoms, they could return to care. So also I want to mention that we want to make sure that that fever is below 100 without any fever reducing medications. So they need to be completely off of any Tylenol, ibuprofen, whatever you happen to be giving them. They need to not be on that and not have fever for 24 hours. The same with vomiting and diarrhea. They need to be 24 hours past a symptom of that, with the exception of possible COVID situations. So there's a lot of changes for our illness policy this year. And again, I just ask that you're patient with us as we work through those things. Our goal is to keep everybody in our care healthy. And we want to limit the amount of exposure to anybody, our staff, other children in our care. So please be diligent with sending children into preschool when they're not feeling well. Okay, our younger children have rest time. Our 15 months, 2 and 3-year-olds, they all have rest time, and mats like these are comfortable. They come with a little pillow, a built-in blanket, but you are welcome to send any type of rest mat that you have for your child. We do ask that you don't send sleeping bags. They're just too bulky and they take up too much space. But if you have the old red and blue folding mat that you wanted to send, you are able to do that. You can put a cover on there or send a little blanket or something with your child if you have a mat that doesn't have a blanket attached. We will ask this year specifically that you are diligent to wash those mats at least once a week. So just build in a time over the weekend where you can wash your child's rest mat before sending it back to school. Our 4-year-olds and transition students do not need a mat. This year, we're going to ask for our 4-year-olds that you only send a towel. They have a very short rest time. Their rest time is 15 minutes, usually maybe 20 at the beginning of the year. So just a regular sized towel that they can put on the floor to just define their space when they're having that short rest time in their room will be fine. And it'll fit right down in their backpack. So it's one less thing that they have to carry. All right, just make sure that your child's mat is comfortable, it's washable, it's easy to put up, and it's lightweight. The kids like to help out with those type of things. So everything that we do, we're trying to foster independence. One of my favorite things to do is watch our 15-month-old teachers pass out nap mats every day. They'll pick up the mat and the kids will come running over when they see their mat, and they'll go take it onto the carpet where they're going to rest. And they love that. So for them to be able to pick it up and carry it themselves is a big thing. They love to be independent. So help us by sending a mat that will be foster the independence for them. All right, nutrition. Snacks are shared in all of our classrooms except for transition. Transition, those children bring their own snack each day. But the other classes do a shared snack. So you will be assigned a snack time, and your teacher will give you a note with some suggestions for the classroom. They'll also let you know if there is a class allergy. All of our snacks that come to school need to be peanut-free items. So do us a favor and check the back of that snack container when you're purchasing it. It will have allergens listed on there. So it will say that it could contain peanuts, or maybe it was processed in a place in a facility that also has peanut items. So stay away from those. I mean, we see the normal snack items for preschool. We have lots of goldfish and Cheez-Its. We get veggie straws. All those things are great. So this year specifically, we're asking that there are no prepared at home items sent. So no cutting up fruit. That's one of our favorite snacks, but this year we're not going to be able to take fruit that was prepared at home. You can do prepackaged fruit. I know some of the grocery stores have prepackaged apple slices, or you could do mandarin oranges that are whole. The teachers can help assist the children with peeling those, but this year, no washing grapes at home and sending them into school. We just want to have everything that we can to be store-bought, just to have one less introduction of the opportunity to share germs with our friends. For lunches, you are providing your child's lunch, so make sure that it's something that they like. Don't send something that they've never eaten before, because if they've never eaten it, they're probably not likely to try it in a preschool classroom. Send things that are easy for them to eat, things that are familiar to them. Like I said in the beginning, let them help pick out a couple of things that they want to put in their lunches. Just having all, especially the younger children, finger foods that are easy for them to pick up and eat are the best. So think of those things when you're purchasing items to prepare your child's lunch. We do a birthday celebration, so your child will be able to bring in a birthday snack on their assigned snack day. So the teacher will pick a class day close to their birthday and assign a special birthday treat. So for the younger children, we ask that you keep that smaller, maybe a cookie, a mini cupcake, one of the very small ones. Donut holes is another favorite for our younger children. to bring. 3s, 4s, and 5s, you can send cupcakes with them. We don't do cakes or candles. Cakes, we don't have the a place in the room where we could safely cut that and have a knife in there. It's just a short celebration with their friends at snack time, just to let them feel special and know that we celebrate them on their special day. No homemade birthday treats this year. They're going to need to be store-bought. Unless that changes, we'll let you know. All right, our 4-year-old and transition students do get to go on a couple of field trips. The first one is in the spring. After spring break, we typically walk over to Nottingham Elementary. They have their kindergarten teachers come, and we get to walk through the school and see their kindergarten classes, see their playground and cafeteria. So pending that things are looking better in March, we would still like to plan that for our students. That's just something that our office staff and classroom teachers take care of. We walk the children across Kingsland. I stop traffic for them and make sure that it's safe for them to cross, and then they get to see the school. So we don't need chaperones to sign up for that, but our big field trip will be to the oil ranch this spring, and we will need parents to help us out on that one. So you are invited to join us. All of our 4- and 5-year-old parents, your teachers will communicate with you once we have that date scheduled, and you'll be able to help us drive or chaperone. Your children in the 4s and 5s get a class t-shirt, and those shirts are required for both the Nottingham and the Oil Ranch field trip. That's again a licensing requirement. If a child leaves our facility, we have to have them in a shirt that has our contact information on there. So they will be asked to wear those school t-shirts on the day of their field trips. So that's always a great time for our kids. All right, if anything is going on during the school year, if there's something happening at home, you feel like it's important to communicate with your child's teacher, maybe your child's having a hard time in separation, or maybe there's something going on in the class that you just want to discuss with your teacher, we are always happy to set up a conference time for you. You can talk to the teacher directly about that, or you can call the office and we'll help coordinate a time, and we'll find a location where you and the teacher and an office staff member, if it's necessary, will sit down and meet with you. It helps for parents and teachers just to be on the same page. So sometimes we just have to sit together and talk about what's best for the student and make sure we're doing the same thing at school that you're doing at home, and vice versa. The consistency for children is the key to success. So meeting together to discuss that is always the best. Our younger children, while you're not provided a class t-shirt, you do have the option to order a CEC t-shirt. Yours will be white with the CEC logo and color on there. That order form was in your Find Your Room Day packet, and it's got a due date on there. So it's just an inexpensive shirt that you can have to commemorate your year and add to your child's wardrobe if you're interested in that, but that is optional. We will do pictures. We have pictures scheduled in October, and we do group pictures in January, and then again in the spring we will have picture options. We will work through with our photographer and licensing agency to make sure that we are able to offer that this year. Right now, having children go through the same area without sanitizing in between, they've asked us not to do that. So we just need to coordinate that. But we will plan right now to have those pictures taken of your children. So we will let you know plenty in advance, so you make sure your children are there and on time that day. And of course, those things are optional. You'll get proofs for your individual pictures and be able to look at them and decide if you want to order the pictures or not. So that's a completely optional thing that we offer a couple of times a year. In your Find Your Room Day packet, there was also some information about some community reward programs that we're a part of. We partner with Kroger's and Randall's. If you shop at either one of those stores and just want to add our school information to your loyalty card, then every time you go and spend money, we receive a small portion of that. It's just a nice little bonus check that we get. It allows us to purchase a few additional toys for the classroom each year. So if you'll consider adding us to your card at Randall's or at Kroger, we would appreciate that. Okay, I'm sure after listening through all of that, you're going to have some questions. So like I said, you can email me with a question that is personal to you and your student, or you can join me for the Zoom meeting. Those will be on our first 2 days of school, Tuesday, September 8th and Wednesday, September 9th. Both of those will take place at 10 o'clock. So that'll give you plenty of time to drop your child off and then head home or to a location where it's quiet enough that you could join us for Zoom. I've included the Zoom password, the Zoom ID and password here on the screen, so you can jot that down, or you can visit our website. Remember, it's kingslandcec.org. I've got that Zoom password and ID listed there so that you can access it anytime between now and the morning of. I hope that you'll join us. There's often some good communication and questions that parents think of that maybe I didn't think to cover in enough detail. So we're excited for this school year, and we know that it does not look exactly like what we thought it would look like, but we are going to have a fabulous year as always. So thank you for trusting your children to our care, especially during this pandemic time. We are always here to answer any questions that you have and to work through any concerns that you might be having about your child. So I look forward to seeing you on the first day of school. Let me know if you have any questions. All right. Bye, friends. Let me end here.